Chapter 51, Strength Measurement, An Amazing Start. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Being pulled by the enthusiastic little girl in green, Su Wani couldn't refuse, so she had to follow her. "Little sister, what's your name?" Amelia Su asked with a smile. "My name is Changlidi." "Sister, just call me Ludi." The little girl in green smiled. Su Wani also revealed her family background. "Well, my name is Su Wani." "Sister Su, your name is so nice," that evergreen butterfly said with a smile. The two people chatted and laughed all the way to the outside of the force measuring stone, which was surrounded by many people. "What are they doing?" Su Wani had a confused look on her face. "There is a huge boulder in front of it, 3 feet high and completely black in color." At this moment, a young man raised his sword and struck at the force testing stone. Boom! The force testing stone collided with the sword and made a roar. A ray of light suddenly appeared from the top of the force measuring stone. "This light is red." The crowd cheered. Another person has appeared who passed the power test stone test." Evergreen Butterfly clapped her hands and smiled. Seeing that Su Wani next to her was confused, she explained softly, "Sister Su, although it is said that those under the age of 20 and at the Yuan High Realm can participate, not everyone can participate. Therefore, this power measuring stone can directly eliminate some people with weak strength." Su Wani looked at the force measuring stone and asked with a smile, "Does the red light mean that you have passed the test?" "Yes, if a red light appears, you can participate in the Sanyuan martial arts tournament. However, you can only participate in the competition between 10th and 4th place." Evergreen Butterfly explained. "Besides red light, is there any other light?" Su Wani asked. "If one blow can make the power measuring stone emit golden light, then you will be qualified to compete for the 3 elements of heaven, earth and humanity." Speaking of which, Evergreen Butterfly looked at the red list next to the force measuring stone and said with slight surprise, "Oh, there are already 9 people who can compete for the 3 elements of heaven, earth and humanity this year, far more than the previous one." Amelia Su nodded. Through the little girl's explanation, she finally had some superficial understanding of the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association. Since her ancestors asked her to participate in the Sanyuan Martial Arts Tournament, they would naturally not let her compete for rankings other than Sanyuan. The goal is to point directly at the 3 elements of heaven, earth, and people. Thinking of the junior brothers and junior sisters, under the supervision of their ancestors, they have achieved such impressive results, invincible at the same level. Su Wani also clenched her fists, feeling that no matter what, she must achieve the best results in this Sanyuan martial arts tournament. Even if she is only at the first level of Yuan High Realm now, she must try her best to take the lead. "Sister Su, under the red light is white light. If you use white light, you can participate in the competition from 20 to 11. I came here just for the quota in this section." Evergreen Butterfly smiled. "Okay, let's take a test too." Su Wani smiled softly, and the two of them walked side by side and squeezed in along with the crowd. At this time, the young man's sword struck out with red light. He seemed a little unwilling to give up, so he struck out with a second sword. There was a roar. Still red light. He shook his head, took a token, and went to the direction of the central square arena. Evergreen Dai took Amelia Su to register at the registration place, and then started queuing up. There were many people in front of them, but many of them failed to meet the standards and could only produce white light. Soon it was their turn. The evergreen ultimatum was in front of her. She swung out her sword and landed heavily on the force measuring stone. Boom! The force testing stone made a loud noise, and a white light rose from the top. That's great." Evergreen Butterfly danced with excitement, turned around and encouraged Su Wani loudly, "Sister Su, you have to work hard and strive for both of us to achieve good results in the top 20. Amelia Su smiled. "This little green butterfly is at the 2nd level of Yuan High Realm, so I encourage her to be at the 1st level of Yuan High Realm." Su Wani stepped forward and drew out the blood-red 7-star Long Yuan sword behind her. "Wow! Sister Su, your sword is actually of heavenly quality." Evergreen Dai couldn't help being surprised when she saw Su Wani's sword. those who can use heaven-level swords have extraordinary backgrounds. The sword she used in a second-class big family in Silver Moon City was only an earth-level sword. Only the patriarch of her family, her father, used a heaven-level sword. Regarding Sister Su Chang Yudi felt that she was becoming more and more mysterious. There were many people watching around. Most of them were practitioners. Everyone watched the young and beautiful girl Su Wani pull out a blood-red sword, and couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Although this sword does not have the bloodthirsty killing intent, it gives people an extremely stunning feeling, especially there are 7 stars on the sword, which adds a bit of mystery. Su Wani raised the sword in her hand and her eyes fell on the sword. This sword was sealed by the ancestor. So the shadow of the dragon also disappeared. Only 7 slightly dim stars remained. Su Wani's heart was calm and calm. Only with this heaven-level sword could she feel at ease. If it was really a god-level sword, she really wouldn't dare stand in this place. There are 2 chances in total for the force measuring stone. Su Wani took a breath, raised the 7-star Longyuan sword in her hand, and slashed hard at the force measuring stone. Boom! This loud noise was earth-shattering and shook the ground 3 times. Everyone was shocked and stared at this beautiful girl with wide eyes. The sword just now, did she really hit it? Buzz! A golden light burst out from the top of the force measuring stone. This golden light was extremely bright, seeming to illuminate the surrounding void at this moment. The monk who was responsible for supervising the power measuring stone couldn't help but his eyes widened when he saw this, although no purple light appeared, but this golden light is so gorgeous and huge in scale that it has reached its golden peak, unexpectedly. A girl at the first level of Yuan High Realm could possess such terrifying power. Could it be that she has some kind of blood power in her body? Evergreen Butterfly stood behind her, her big eyes widened, and she exclaimed, "Sister Su, you are so powerful, you actually split the golden light." Seeing the huge movement, Su Wani couldn't help but feel a tremor in her heart. She quickly put the 7-star Longyuan sword back into its scabbard. Like Luo Li and Jun Ma Xiao, Su Wani also has a cautious and low-key temperament. Just now, she only used half of her strength. But she didn't expect that she would cause such an alarming movement. On the force measuring stone, Su Wani was also unexpected. She secretly guessed that it must be that drop of ancestral dragon essence and blood that replaced the extremely thin divine dragon blood in her body. The essence and blood of the ancestral dragon transformed the entire body, giving it extremely powerful power. In legends, dragons are mythical beasts with great power. Humans with dragon bloodline will become extremely powerful physically once the bloodline is activated, and their power will far exceed that of monks of the same generation. Which sect are you a disciple of, and you are so strong? The monk in charge of recording came over and said with a shocked look on his face. I'm from the Shenlong Sect. Amelia Su said calmly. At this moment, under the bright sunshine and the gentle breeze, she slightly tilted her white and smooth pointed chin. In the calm voice, there was a hint of pride. Chapter 52 Shenlong Sect. Never heard of that. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shenlong Sect? The monk shook his head. He had never heard of this sect. It's probably just a small sect with little reputation. It's just that this disciple is extremely talented and has an extremely powerful body, which is why he caused the alarming movement of the power measuring stone. This kind of situation also happened from time to time in previous Sanyuan martial arts tournaments. This is your participation token, get it? As long as you get a good ranking, the Supreme Sect will accept you as an inner disciple. From then on, you will leap over the Dragon Gate and completely leave the inferior sect. The monk handed over a golden participation token and placed it in Su Wani's hand, then smiled softly and turned around to leave. Su Wani took the token and her face suddenly turned red. This guy actually dares to say that his sect is an inferior sect. She really wanted to kill him with one sword strike. Their Shenlong Zongrua dates back to 100,000 years ago. How glorious that is. The eternal level sect is as big as a giant. If any disciple appears, the entire Changnan continent will tremble. The big black cat that had been squatting on his shoulder suddenly stopped doing it. Damn it, this little monk dares to speak ill of our Shenlong sect. I will never let him go. I will make sure that he has no descendants. The big black cat made an angry sound. 2 black gem-like eyes shot out 2 black rays of light, which flashed away. The monk who was walking suddenly stumbled and almost fell. There happened to be a monk next to him, and his quick eyes and hands quickly caught him. "What's wrong?" "Senior Brotherly?" the monk asked with concern. "My waist hurts so much." Senior Brotherly held his lower back with his hands and felt unbearable pain, as if he was about to fall to the ground. "Then I'll help you go to the back to rest first, and I'll let Senior Brother Zhao make the arrangements here." The monk's expression changed, and he quickly helped Senior Brotherly to the back room. Su Wani turned her head and glanced at the little black milk cat on her shoulder, and sent out a message. "What did you do to him?" The big black cat raised his head triumphantly and said with a smile, "Miss, I told him to cut off his descendants, so let him really cut off his descendants." Su Wani laughed, but her face turned a little red. "No one seems to be able to see you, cat-senpai." Su Wani blinked. This little black cat, squatting on her eye-catching golden robe, should attract a lot of people's attention, but the strange thing is that the evergreen butterfly that has been following her didn't even notice it. "Miss, I'm invisible. Only you can see me, they can't all see me," the big black cat said proudly. "I see." Su Wani suddenly realized, the big black cat said with a sad face, "Miss, please don't call me Senior Cat, otherwise my life will be shortened. From now on, just call me Xiao Hei. We cultivators pay attention to the same generation, don't you think?" "All right." Seeing that the senior cat was so persistent in this title, Su Wani could only nod helplessly. At this time, Evergreen Butterfly came back to her senses, rushed over, grabbed Su Wani's hand, and said in surprise, "Sister Su, I didn't expect you to be so powerful." "Well enough." Su Wani smiled gently, without any extreme expression. "Sister Su, let's go to the ring." Evergreen Dai took Su Wani's hand and walked quickly towards the ring in the center of the square. At this moment, there is still one stick of incense left before the official start time of the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association. Everyone is looking forward to it. At this time, a monk from the city lord's mansion came over and checked the two people's competition tokens. One person took Su Wani to the golden token area, the evergreen butterfly was taken to the white token area. The most important thing about the 3-yuan martial arts competition is the 3-yuan competition between heaven, earth, and humans. On the first day, the competition for the top 3 will be held. As for the following rankings, competition will be held on the second day. Next to the competition arena, there is a luxurious and large viewing shed built separately. At this moment, there were 9 teenagers standing under the shed, each with a strong breath and a proud look on their face. Among these 9 people, the one with the highest cultivation level is Xiong Chumo from the city lord's mansion. He is already at the 7th level of Yuan High Realm. Ranking 2nd and 3rd are Ouyang Xiu from the Ouyang family and Dongfang Yu from the Dongfang family respectively. As for the remaining 6 people, the one with the lowest cultivation level is also at the 4th level of Yuan High Realm. Most of them are around the 5th level of Yuan High Realm. Footsteps sounded. A middle-aged monk walked in with a beautiful girl wearing a golden robe and a red sword hanging on her back. Seeing this beautiful girl, everyone's eyes lit up and they were astonished. This girl is so beautiful. Incomparably beautiful. Xiong Chumo also showed a trace of greed in his eyes, but then, he folded his hands on his chest, looked at the middle-aged monk coldly, and asked, "Did you go to the wrong door? This is the golden token waiting area." The middle-aged monk clasped his hands in his fists, bowed in salute, and said respectfully, "I've seen Master Xiong. I'm not wrong. This girl just got a golden participation token." "No way." Ouyang Xiu next to him looked shocked. Looking at Su Wani's beautiful little face, he frowned and said, "She is only at the 1st level of Yuan High Realm, but she can shine golden light on the power measuring stone." The middle-aged monk smiled bitterly and nodded. Then, he turned to look at Su Wani and whispered, "Miss Su, please take out your golden competition card." Su Wani raised the golden token. The 9 teenagers next to him couldn't help but gasp when they saw it. The golden light of the power measuring stone can be emitted at the 1st level of the Yuan High Realm. This girl has some skills. Xiong Chumo put his hands behind his back, looked at the beautiful Su Wani calmly, and said with a smile, "Girl, you have a good talent. If there is a chance in the future, I will help introduce you to a big sect." "Need not." Su Wani's face suddenly turned cold. She quickly walked to a corner, looked at the ring, and stopped talking. Seeing how cold and inhuman this beauty was, everyone couldn't help but have a playful smile on their faces. It's really interesting. Where did this guy come from? Dongfang Yu looked at the graceful figure with a fanatical look in her eyes. He fell in love with this girl at first sight. After the game is over, be sure to do some research to see which sect it belongs to. At the same time, a monk from the city lord's mansion hurried to the largest viewing booth in the field and handed a secret report to Xiong Yinghao. Xiong Yinghao looked puzzled. When he opened it, his expression changed slightly. City Lord Xiong, what happened? Ouyang Qitian, the patriarch of the Ouyang family, glanced over. Nothing. A little girl suddenly appeared with the golden light of the power measuring stone. Xiong Yinghao smiled faintly. What? The competition is about to start, and another golden light player appears. Ouyang Qitian was slightly startled and asked quickly, what kind of cultivation level does this little girl have? It's only the first level of Yuan High Realm, nothing to worry about. Xiong Yinghao shrugged slightly and said disdainfully. The distinguished guest is here. He looked into the distance, his expression suddenly changed, he quickly stood up and walked out. The patriarchs of the other two major families also saw three figures speeding up in the sky in the distance. They looked surprised and hurriedly followed them. People from the three major sects are here. Chapter 53 The Fierce Big Black Cat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I've met three elders. Xiong Yinghao, the city lord of Silver Moon City, led the clan heads of various major families, as well as some sect leaders, and flew into the air to meet the three powerful men flying from a distance. Everyone bowed their hands in an unusually respectful manner. There were two men and one woman. A tall, thin old man was in the middle, and his cultivation level was already at the Xinqiao realm. He is the deacon elder of the Qitian sword sect and is responsible for the enrollment of the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association in Silver Moon City. As one of the three major forces of the Kamikaze dynasty, the Qitian sword sect actually has only one goal this time, and that is Xiong Chimo, who has already been determined internally. As for everyone else, Qitian sword sect didn't take a fancy to it at all. Another middle-aged man comes from Hunyuan sword sect and is also an elder deacon. Different from Qitian sword sect, Hunyuan sword sect is a quasi-first-class large sect. In addition to the appointed Aoyang Xiu, he also wants to check out other disciples. If there are suitable ones, he will naturally take them under his sect. The last woman, this is the deacon elder from Qingyun sect. Qingyun sect belongs to the first-class sect and is considered to be the strongest sect among the first-class sections. This time, I also want to recruit a few more talented disciples. The elder of Qitian sword sect looked around, smiled faintly, and said, City Master Xiong, is it time for the 3 Yuan martial arts tournament? There's still half a stick of incense left. Xiong Yinghao said with a smile, and then he made a gesture of invitation. Invite 3 elders to the table. The elder of the Qitian sword sect nodded with an arrogant look on his face, landed down, and entered the viewing booth in a flash. He is currently the only powerful person in the Xinqiao realm in the entire Silver Moon City, and he represents the Qitian sword sect behind him. Naturally, everyone here regards him as a leader. Everyone took their seats. Xiong Yinghao sat on the right hand of the old man. The elder of the Qitian sword sect looked at the arena and asked casually, how many contestants are there who have hit the golden light of the force measuring stone this time? There are 10 in total. Xiong Yinghao said with a smile. That's not bad. There are 2 or 3 more than the last one. The elder of Qitian sword sect smiled and nodded. It took half a stick of incense. Xiong Yinghao, the city lord of Silver Moon City, walked out of the viewing tent and announced loudly, the Sanyuan martial arts tournament begins now. Good. All the onlookers couldn't help but cheered. On the first day of the Sanyuan martial arts competition, the top 3 in Tianyuan, Diyuan and Renyuan will be competed for, so the level of competition was at its highest on this day. Referee Monk stood on the ring and announced loudly, in the first match, number 10 Su Wani will face number 7 by Yuan Shan. In the viewing tent. Su Wani was slightly startled when she heard her name being called out by the referee. Unexpectedly, she was the first to appear. Miss, it's your turn. The big black cat reminded him with a smile. Su Wani nodded slightly and was about to walk to the ring. Suddenly, a figure suddenly passed by her. The man paused, suddenly turned around and smiled coldly at Su Wani. You are so beautiful, and I can't bear to do anything harsh. When we get to the ring, just admit defeat, said. The young man laughed, spread his wings, and immediately rose up, landing firmly on the ring. Give up. How is that possible? Su Wani also had a sneer on her face. The other party was only at the 4th level of Yuan High Realm. Among the 10 contestants, he is the second to last in terms of cultivation level. There is no one stronger than her. Su Wani took a step forward, and her body turned into a phantom of a divine dragon, flying through the air and landing on the high arena. Wow, Long Yi, so majestic. The audience nearby couldn't help but cheer loudly when they saw Su Wani's amazing movement and transformed into a phantom of a dragon. Bai Yuanshan's momentum was immediately suppressed. In the black carriage, Yi Yun looked at this scene calmly, with a smile on his face. Su Wani's attainments in Shenlong's 9 transformations are stronger than Shenlong's swordsmanship. That guy named Bai Yuanshan didn't have high qualifications, but he was arrogant. He wouldn't even be able to take a sword from Su Wani later. Bai Yuanshan couldn't help but turn pale as he listened to the cheers of the audience. He had just spread his wings and landed as a big rock, which originally won cheers. But I didn't expect it. But the little girl did a dragon tail swing and landed on the ring. The cheers she received were more enthusiastic than his. All the momentum he had worked so hard to create was suppressed. This made Bai Yuanshan extremely angry. The 2 eyes were widened, and the hungry wolf stared at Su Wani, as if he wanted to eat her. In his heart, Su Wani was only at the 1st level of Yuan High Realm, 3 small realms away from him, so she was no match for him anyway, not just by Yuan Mountain. Within 4 weeks, almost everyone thought so. For this delicate and beautiful girl, it seems that everyone recognizes her beauty more than her strength. The elder of Qitian's sword sect narrowed his eyelids slightly, looked at Su Wani, and asked calmly. This little girl, does the force-testing stone produce golden light? Yes, Elder Luo, Xionglinghao said quickly. This girl doll does have some potential. The elder of the Qitian sword sect flashed his eyes and chuckled, seeing Elder Luo's love for talents. Xionglinghao quickly smiled and said, Elder Luo, if this girl performs well, then you can take another one back this time. Elder Luo smiled and said, let's see how she performs. If she can defeat Bai Yuanshan on the opposite side, she might consider it. On the stage, the referee announced, the game begins. Su Wani pulled out the 7-star Longyuan sword in her hand and pointed the sword tip at Bai Yuan Mountain. Her body moved slightly, and in an instant, a dragon-shaped shadow appeared behind her. This dragon-shaped shadow was more than 10 meters high, hovering behind her, giving people an extremely powerful feeling. What kind of swordsmanship is this? Bai Yuanshan was shocked and did not dare to underestimate him, so he quickly drew out his sword. Seeing Su Wani carrying the phantom of the divine dragon on her back, Elder Luo of the Qitian sword sect raised his eyebrows and said, this swordsmanship has some meaning. Then he glanced at Xionglinghao and asked lightly, what force does this female doll come from? Xionglinghao tried his best to think back and said quickly, it is said to be from a sect called Shenlong Sect. A small, unpopular sect. The elder of Qitian sword sect curled his lips, with a look of disapproval on his face. The entire Kamikaze dynasty had a vast territory, and he knew all the sects that were first class or above. He had never heard of this Shenlong sect. It can be seen that it is also unknown. This old guy from the Qitian sword sect is looking for death. Damn it, Uncle Cat is in a bad mood again. Miss, just wait, I'll go over and kill him. Amelia Sue's shoulders, the big black cat had sensitive ears. When he heard Elder Luo's words, he suddenly became angry. The ferocity in its bones was immediately aroused. He was about to go over and kill someone. Next to my ears, the voice of the big black horse suddenly came. Kitten, don't worry, the master said, we will settle the accounts later. As soon as he heard that it was the master's order, the big black cat put away its murderous intent and lay down obediently. Thinking of the master's terrifying methods, the big black cat licked its paws and smiled proudly. Actually, there is no need for the master to take action. For a big monster like it in the Nirvana realm, if it strikes with one claw, everyone on the scene will die. Chapter 54 Winning Streak. Dongfang Ming's Anger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Wani also heard the big dark horse's message at the same time. Seeing that the big black cat became quiet, she couldn't help but let out a long breath. If it slaps the elder of the Qitian sword sect to death, I am afraid that the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association will also be disrupted. Bai Yuanshan held the sword in one hand and looked at Su Wani with the phantom of the dragon on her back. He felt an incomparable feeling in his heart. Go to hell. Finally, he couldn't help roaring and struck with his sword. This sword, like a great river, the sword light surges forward inexhaustibly, sweeping forward like a destructive force. This is the Dai sword technique passed down from his family's ancestors. The sword is surging and powerful, and is one of the top 10 sword techniques in Silver Moon City. Su Wani narrowed her eyelids, raised the 7-star Longyuan sword, and struck it with one strike. The sword light contained the shadow of the divine dragon. At this moment, the divine dragon's sword light appeared across the sky. It was unstoppable, and the sword fell, directly splitting the surging river. Bai Yuanshan was shocked and quickly used his sword to block. The two swords intersected, there was a loud bang, a powerful force surged forward, and Bai Yuanshan felt his body suddenly light up and was knocked away. His body was like a kite with its string cut off, and he flew straight out of the ring without any control. Below, a monk immediately caught him. A stream of blood came from the corner of Bai Yuanshan's mouth. He quickly struggled to stand up, preparing to fly to the ring again. You have already lost, there is no need to come up again. Su Wani stood at the edge of the ring, inserted the 7-star Longyuan sword back in, looked down, and said lightly. I lost, how is this possible? Bai Yuanshan murmured to himself. He never dreamed that Su Wani would be forced to fall off the ring with just one strike of his sword, thus losing the game. This is really frustrating. What a shame. I surrender. Bai Yuanshan also knew the rules of the game. He spit out a mouthful of blood, frowned, and strode away. Su Wani wins. The referee's voice sounded, announcing the end of the game. Wow! Sister Su is so strong, she forced a guy on the 4th level of Yuan High Realm off the ring with just one sword strike. Among the crowd, Evergreen Butterfly clapped her little hands and cheered. She had vaguely guessed about Sister Su's strength, but she didn't expect that Sister Su was so powerful. This girl has great physical strength. In the viewing booth, Ouyang Xiu looked at Su Wani with a very shocked expression on his face. For Bai Yuanshan, he knew them very well. The two had known each other since childhood and often competed in swordsmanship. The Bai family's Dai sword technique is powerful, but he didn't expect that the delicate beauty would chop him off the stage with a single sword. This shows that the strength of her body is unimaginable. This has gone beyond the physical level that one should have at the Yuan High Realm. Su Wani took back the dragon's shadow and flew back from the ring to the viewing booth. Congratulations. Xiong Chumo waved to Su Wani with a bright smile. Su Wani frowned, ignored him, and walked to the corner alone. Xiong Chumo snorted coldly. Dongfang Yu came over familiarly and said with a smile, Su Wani, I didn't expect that your combat power is quite high. What, do you want to compete with me? Su Wani felt disgusted when she saw Dongfang Jade's playful smile. I believe there is a chance. Dongfang Yu took a step back, turned around and left immediately. At this time, the referee had already called his name, and he was the second one to appear. His opponent is Cui Xiaoran, number 4. The two men only fought for a few rounds in the ring, and Cui Xiaoran lost the game. Dongfang Yu came back with a triumphant smile. Xiong Chumo glanced at him lightly without any unnecessary expression. The three of them have all been assigned quotas, and now they are just going through the motions. 10 people, using a point system. When Ouyang Xiu and Dongfang Yu faced off against Xiong Chumo, they would give in after a few thought. As for the others, none of them could be his opponent, Xiong Chumo. But now, Bai Yuanshan has withdrawn from the competition out of anger, so there are only 9 people left. This will make the game go faster. The first round is over. Then, the second round of competition began. This time, Su Wani was the first to appear, and her opponent turned out to be Dongfang Yu. Dongfang Jade is at the 5th level of Yuan High Realm. In terms of realm, it is 4 small realms higher than her. The two men stood on the ring, each with his sword drawn, facing each other from afar. The war is about to break out, inside the viewing tent. Clan Chief Dongfang, you look a little nervous. Ouyang Jintian glanced sideways at Dongfang Ming and smiled softly. Why am I nervous? She is a small Yuan high realm, but she can beat my son. What a joke. Dongfang Ming curled his lips and disagreed. Elder Luo of Qitian Sword Sect glanced at Xiong Hao and asked with a smile, who do you think can win among these two children? Dongfang Yu has already mastered the essence of Dongfang family's swordsmanship. I think he should be able to defeat Su Wani. Xiong Hao smiled. At this time, he would naturally side with the Dongfang family. Hee. Elder Luo chuckled, if this girl can defeat Dongfang Yu, then this time he will make an exception and accept her as an inner disciple, being able to defeat the 5th level of Yuan High Realm at the 1st level of Yuan High Realm. This kind of ability to fight across levels is rare even for the Qitian Sword Sect. While several people were talking, Su Wani and Dongfang Yu were already fighting on the ring. Dongfang Yu's soul-chasing and life-killing sword skills are characterized by the word quick. Once the first sword is deployed, the next sword will be faster than the last, and there will be no chance to breathe until the opponent is killed. The sword rays chased life, pouring down like mercury, blocking every inch of space. Facing Dongfang Jade's violent bombardment, Su Wani had already activated the 9 transformations of the divine dragon. She transformed into illusory dragons, constantly wandering around the arena. Let Dongfang use every sword fall in vain. Dongfang Ming stared closely at the two figures on the stage, his face gloomy, and a hint of murderous intent loomed deep in his eyes. Su Wani, don't hide. Dongfang Yu roared loudly, and the sword light became more and more fierce. He was also complaining secretly in his heart, because he had struck out with so many swords, but not one of them touched the corner of the opponent's clothes. There are 99 and 81 styles of soul-chasing and life-stealing swords. In this moment, he had already performed 49 postures. If he still can't defeat Su Wani after using all of them, then the power of his second round of using the soul-chasing life-destroying sword may be reduced. This kind of sword technique consumes a lot of mana. However, Dongfang Jade's idea is completely wrong. Before he finished his first round of sword moves, Su Wani, who had already seen some flaws in his sword skills, had already begun to attack forcefully. Her 7-star Long Yuan sword shed sword light, and divine dragon spurred out with the sword light. In an instant, the entire arena was filled with the shadow of Shenlong. The sword light blended with the divine dragon, creating an unstoppable force. Following a flaw, it broke through the dense sword curtain created by the soul-chasing life-destroying sword. The 7-star Long Yuan sword fell from the sky. Dongfang Yu was shocked. Puff puff. Several sword energy hit Dongfang Yu, and he screamed and flew backwards. In the viewing tent, a figure suddenly flew out and held Dongfang Yu in his arms. Dongfang Ming looked at his son covered in blood with anger on his face. You little girl, you are so cruel and ruthless. I will never spare you today. Dongfang Ming had a cold and terrifying expression on his face, and slowly walked toward Su Wani, exuding a powerful aura of the God-shaping realm. Chapter 55 White Tiger Jin Geng Sword Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Injuries are inevitable in competitions. If you don't want to get hurt, you don't have to let your son participate. Su Wani's brows were furrowed, her body was tall, and she stood on the ring with the tip of her sword just above Dongfang Ming. The big black cat said fiercely at the side, Miss, if this old thing dares to take action, I will directly destroy the entire Dongfang family. Su Wani's pupils shrank. This senior cat is really a charming person. Dongfang Ming walked towards him with murderous intent, and suddenly Xiong Hao's voice came to his ears. His expression suddenly changed. He turned around and left with Dongfang Yu in his arms. After all, this is the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association. There is also Elder Luo from the Qitian Sword Sect sitting here. If he really takes action against Amelia Su, that would probably be difficult to withstand the overwhelming anger of Elder Luo of the Qitian Sword Sect. Xiong Hao sent a message telling him that Elder Luo was optimistic about this girl. If he becomes an inner disciple of the Qitian Sword Sect in the future, the Dongfang family will not dare to provoke him no matter what. Seeing Dongfang Ming suddenly leaving, Su Wani breathed a sigh of relief. She jumped off the competition stage and returned to the viewing booth. The other people looked at Su Wani with extremely complicated expressions. Some of those who were not as strong as Dongfang Yu had a look of fear in their eyes. As for Ouyang Xiu and Xiong Chumo, who were stronger than Dongfang Yu, they looked at Su Wani with burning fighting spirit in their eyes. Ouyang Xiu, do you think you can defeat her with your strength? Xiong Chimo asked softly. Ouyang Xiu recalled Su Wani's stunning sword and said solemnly, it's hard to say, but it will always be better than the last one. Xiong Chimo nodded slightly. In his opinion, Su Wani may be as capable as Ouyang Xiu, but she is still far behind him. He doesn't care what others do, as long as his position as Tian Yuan is determined, that's all. After all, he has the highest level of cultivation among the people present. His father is the Lord of Silver Moon City and has a distinguished status, so no matter what, he can't lose. A black carriage was still parked outside the city lord's palace, but there were people coming and going around, and no one seemed to see it. The big black horse turned around, grinned and said, Master, those guys who participated in the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association are too weak. I guess only Xiong Yinghao's son can put some pressure on the young lady. Not urgent. Yi Yun smiled softly. The Sanyuan Martial Arts Association is just the beginning. Luo Li and Jun Ma Xiao are refining the essence and blood of the ancestral dragon and changing the concentration of the ancestral dragon bloodline, so during this period, Su Wani needs to practice alone. For this little girl, Yi Yun also has high expectations. He will arrange strong opponents for Su Wani step by step, allowing her to lay a solid foundation starting from the first level of Yuan High Realm. There are only 3 disciples of Shenlong Sect. For Yi Yun, the ancestor, he wanted to train these 3 disciples into swordsmanship giants who could stand up to all enemies. It is equivalent to creating 3 previous selves. In this way, one day he leaves Cangnan continent, and the Shenlong Sect will have successors. As evening approaches, night falls slowly. The lights in the city lord's palace were brightly lit, and the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association was in full swing. Su Wani won 5 games in a row, considered to be the biggest dark horse to win this year's championship. However, she still hasn't met Ouyang Xiu and Xiong Chimo. Except for his defeat at the hands of Xiong Chimo, Ouyang Xiu never lost another duel with anyone else. Currently, he ranks 3rd in points. If he wants to get 2nd place, he must win over Su Wani. The next match will be between number 2 Ouyang Xiu and number 10 Su Wani. That the referee's voice rang. Wow! The surrounding audience burst into thunderous applause and cheers. For this beautiful woman wearing a golden robe and carrying a bright red sword on her back, all the viewers were impressed by her peerless grace. Su Wani has a beautiful appearance, extraordinary temperament, and superb swordsmanship. Won 7 games in a row. Currently, the worst ranking is RMB. If she can defeat Ouyang Xiu, she will break into the top 2. Finally, there will be a final showdown with the son of the strongest city lord this year. Su Wani stood on the ring, pulled out the 7-star Longyuan sword, and the shadow of the dragon appeared behind her. She didn't have any contempt for Ouyang Xiu. After years of wandering on the run, Su Wani never underestimates any opponent. Although she had won 7 games in a row, Su Wani felt extremely calm. She came to participate in the Sanyuan Martial Arts tournament according to her ancestors' wishes. The ancestors made her get it through experience. The so-called experience is not only to experience the power of a sword heart, but also to be able to leapfrog and fight when facing powerful enemies. So far, Ouyang Xiu is the only strong enemy. Su Wani also hopes to be able to achieve breakthroughs in cultivation under strong battle pressure like her junior brothers and junior sisters. After all, she had also taken a dragon tiger pill. This is a divine elixir given by our ancestors. Nowadays, most of the medicinal power is still stored in the body, quietly waiting for the pressure to come, and then breaking through in one fell swoop. Inside the black carriage, Yi Yun's face was calm, feeling the aura on Su Wani's body getting stronger and stronger, and there was a look of appreciation in his eyes. As a senior sister, Su Wani is a few years older than Luo Li and Jun Mo Xiao, and her character is the most mature. Yi Yun also appreciated this very much. When the sect was in danger, Su Wani was the first to stand up and lead the pursuers away. This kind of spirit of self-sacrifice and preservation of others is commendable. As the 13th generation leader of the Shenlong Sect, Yi Yun also had several apprentices, but that was the era when the Shenlong Sect was most powerful, and no one in the world dared to mess with it. Just when Yi Yun was reminiscing about the past, Su Wani had already fought with Ouyang Xiu. Ouyang Xiu has surpassed Su Wani in 5 minor realms, but he does not have the natural bloodline. Therefore, he did not gain an absolute advantage. However, Ouyang Xiu's combat power is indeed very strong. The Ouyang family's white tiger Jin Geng swordsmanship specializes in gold-based killing. Every ray of sword light is extremely amazing and contains sharp cutting power. If it weren't for the solid formation in the arena, it would have been destroyed long ago. Similar to Su Wani carrying the phantom of the dragon on her back, behind Ouyang Xiu, there is also the shadow of a white tiger. The white tiger is vivid and huge, sitting upright in the void, majestic. One after another, the sword light emitted bright golden light and collided with the Shenlong sword light, making loud bang sounds. After several head-on confrontations, Su Wani was at a disadvantage and was suppressed by Ouyang Xiu's sword skills. Fortunately, the Shenlong 9 transformation technique allowed her to evade every sword light attack. The sky is filled with phantoms of divine dragons, and it seems that every phantom of the divine dragon is Su Wani. Therefore, even though Ouyang Xiu's swordsmanship was fierce and he constantly shattered the phantom of the dragon, Su Wani's true figure could never be found. This girl doll is really nice. Elder Luo of the Qitian sword sect narrowed his eyelids slightly with an appreciative look in his eyes. The battle was fierce in the ring. The battle lasted for an hour in a flash. Ouyang Xiu is worthy of being the second best player of the younger generation in Silver Moon City, and he has always maintained a high-intensity offense. But he was surprised to find that Su Wani did not show any signs of fatigue. Under his crazy attack, although she was suppressed, she did not completely lose the ability to fight back. It's dark, in the dim blue night, a few stars rose vaguely, a full moon rose slowly from the eastern night sky, like a golden disk. In the black carriage, Yi Yun's eyes suddenly flickered slightly and he looked towards the underground of Silver Moon City. Chapter 56 There is a mystery beneath Silver Moon City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master, what did you find? The big black horse also looked underground, but found nothing. Yi Yun looked up again and glanced at the full moon in the night sky, and smiled softly. You will know later. I never expected that there is such a wonderful show. Okay, sir. The big black horse was very eager to know the mystery under the ground, but the master didn't tell him, and he didn't dare to ask, so he had to endure it in his heart. On the stage, the battle between Ouyang Xiu and Su Wani becomes more and more exciting. During the whole process, Su Wani was suppressed by Ouyang Xiu, and there were not many opportunities to fight back. After all, there is a difference of 5 small realms. In the eyes of outsiders, it is a miracle that Su Wani can persist undefeated until now. I can't believe it. This girl is so tenacious, and she still shows no sign of giving in. Elder Luo touched his beard and said with a very relieved smile, he admires Su Wani more and more. She has a strong will and outstanding talent. If she is well cultivated, she will definitely be a great genius. Xiong Hao also nodded and smiled. He didn't have any special opinions about Amelia Su. After all, he could also see that Su Wani had such a hard time facing Ouyang Xiu, and she was definitely no match against his son Xiong Chimo, so he has nothing to worry about. Jin Yuan's position is still his son's exclusive position. The battle lasted for almost half an hour. Su Wani still couldn't see any signs of fatigue, while Ouyang Xiu, on the other hand, was already sweating slightly on his forehead. He couldn't help but groan secretly. This delicate little beauty has such strong resilience, which is rare in her life. If he continues to fight, he will be short of both mana and physical strength, and the power of his sword moves will be greatly reduced. Ouyang Qitian also discovered this. He casually took a sip of tea and said calmly, "Little girl, you are no match for my son. Why bother to support me? Why don't you just admit defeat, give up? How is that possible?" Su Wani had no time to speak and sneered in her heart. She has the blood of the ancestral dragon in her body, and now her physical body is extremely powerful. After fighting for so long, she doesn't feel tired at all. Even if it lasts for another 5 hours, it won't be a problem for her. Being suppressed and beaten by Ouyang Xiu all the time was also beneficial. Su Wani also felt that there seemed to be signs of a breakthrough in her cultivation. Humph. Ouyang Qitian saw that his words had no effect. The little girl still pursed her lips, fighting stubbornly with her son Ouyang Xiu, and couldn't help but snorted. However, in front of Elder Luo of the Qitian sword sect, he couldn't continue to say anything extreme. The time of a stick of incense passed in the blink of an eye. Ouyang Xiu's physical strength began to be a little weak, and his magic power began to be stretched. There were also flaws in his sword light. Good chance. A ray of cold light suddenly flashed from Su Wani's pupils. She thrust out her sword and followed the flaw in Ouyang Xiu's sword move and pierced it in. Ouyang Xiu was shocked, he hurriedly dodged to avoid it, but unexpectedly, Su Wani's sword light followed him closely like a shadow. Ouyang Xiu could only block in a hurry. Puff. A sword hit him on the shoulder, a stream of blood suddenly shot out from Ouyang Xiu's shoulder. He screamed and fell to the ground. Due to lack of physical strength and an injury to his shoulder, he suffered a mental breakdown and could not hold on any longer. I surrender. Ouyang Xiu raised his head and said very simply. Good. Su Wani inserted the 7-star Long Yuan sword into the scabbard and flew off the ring. Wonderful. The spectators all around applauded enthusiastically. Wow, Sister Su actually won again. She defeated Ouyang Xiu who had crossed 5 small realms. The position of Dun is confirmed. Evergreen Butterfly clapped her hands and cheered. When Ouyang Qitian saw that his son was defeated by Su Wani, he was so angry that he trembled all over. It was obviously his son who kept suppressing Su Wani and beat her, but unexpectedly, this girl actually won in the end. He really doubted whether Amelia Su was cheating. How could a fragile woman possess such lasting fighting power? He originally wanted to stand up and question, but when he glanced at Elder Luo of the Qitian Sword Sect next to him and saw the latter's appreciative smile, he held back forcefully. It seems that this girl will definitely become an inner disciple of Qitian Sword Sect like Xiong Chumo in the future. He can't afford to offend. When Su Wani returned to the viewing booth, Xiong Chumo was the only one left inside. I have to say, you are a strong person. Xiong Chumo looked at Su Wani closely and said with a serious face, if we are also on the 7th level of Yuan High Realm, I will not be your opponent. What do you want to say? Su Wani asked with an indifferent expression. You have been fighting for so long. If you fight me again, you will definitely lose. How about we communicate in advance and when we get to the ring later, you can just admit defeat, Xiong Chumo said with a smile. When he said this, he looked like he had a pearl of wisdom in his hand. That's not necessarily the case. See you in the ring. After Su Wani coldly dropped these words, she turned around. Xiong Chumo's expression suddenly froze. This little girl has such a stubborn temper. It seemed that when he got to the ring soon, he couldn't hold back. He wanted to make a quick decision and use the most powerful sword move to make her admit defeat. After a cup of tea, the referee announced the start of the final. Su Wani and Xiong Chumo entered the ring again. All the onlookers around applauded enthusiastically. This exciting Dragon Phoenix fight is about to begin. Regarding the biggest dark horse in this Sanyuan martial arts tournament, many people have hopes for Su Wani. After all, she was on the 1st level of Yuan High Realm, defeating various powerful enemies along the way and reaching the finals. Everyone is more optimistic about her. Just as the two started to fight, the big black cat sitting on Su Wani's shoulder suddenly frowned. It's in the air all around. It seemed that I smelled an indescribable strange smell. It raised its head and glanced at the full moon in the night sky. Suddenly the cat's eyes enlarged slightly, and a little blush appeared around the full moon. After all, the big black cat has lived a long time and has seen a lot. At this moment, it seems to have thought of a possibility. Silver Moon City is said to have been the former royal capital of the Silver Moon Wolf clan, but tens of thousands of years ago, the Silver Moon Wolf clan was defeated, and Silver Moon City was handed over to the human race. The big black cat murmured to himself, although it felt a little uneasy inside. It thought that the master was outside. There is also Uncle Ma, who has a sworn friendship with it. The big black cat's mood suddenly became clear. In the arena at this moment, as soon as Xiong Chumo came up, he used the most powerful 9-turn Hegemon sword and launched a crazy attack on Su Wani, trying to defeat her in a short time. The sword light surged like the ocean tide, one wave stronger than the other. Su Wani was like a small boat, struggling to support itself in the waves. Boom. It seems that some shackles and barriers in the body have been broken. Su Wani's body trembled slightly. At this moment, she actually broke through to the 2nd level of Yuan High Realm. Feeling the surge of mana and combat power all over her body, Su Wani's spirit surged. She let out a roar like a divine dragon, swung countless sword lights, and counterattacked towards Xiong Chumo. Chapter 57 Rejection of Qitian Sword Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What? She actually broke through? Xiong Chimo was shocked. He never dreamed that Su Wani would break through to the second level of Yuan High Realm during the battle. After the breakthrough, Su Wani was like a tiger descending from the mountain, unstoppable. Her combat power increased at least 10 times compared to her original strength. How can this be? Xiong Chimo roared crazily in his heart. The advantage he had originally had was gone. The spectators around were also dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, Su Wani broke through in the battle, took the initiative immediately, and was tied with Xiong Chimo. Sister Su, come on. Evergreen Butterfly in the crowd was the first to react, clapping her little hands and cheering constantly, and in the viewing booth, except for Elder Luo of the Qitian Sword Sect, who was smiling, everyone else had very ugly expressions, especially Xiong Yinghao. The city lord of Silver Moon City originally wanted to leave Tianyuan's position to his son, but unexpectedly, Su Wani appeared on the way and disrupted all his subsequent plans. His biggest hope now is that Su Wani is exhausted due to repeated hard battles and is finally defeated by her son. TSK. This little girl is really amazing. She can actually break through in a battle. Elder Luo had a smile on his face and admiration in his eyes. He didn't care about Tianyuan's position, he just wanted to find more powerful geniuses for Qitian Sword Sect. In the arena, Su Wani was also shocked. The god-level dragon and tiger pill given by our ancestors is too powerful. After sealing a large realm, she suddenly achieved a breakthrough, and her combat power increased at least 10 times. Now, she is on par with Xiong Chimo, even if Xiong Chimo's swordsmanship is domineering, her dragon swordsmanship can still suppress him. Xiong Chimo became anxious, and his sword force suddenly changed. The sword shadow is heavy, one after another, lightsabers condensed in the air, countless sword lights condensed into one point. Everything in the world was shrouded in sword light. Endless thoughts gather here. The world is dark, but the sword light here is dazzling. A golden light flashed past, like a shooting star cutting through the night, bringing with it an extremely bright brilliance. That golden ray of light seemed to attack Su Wani with endless majesty and domineering power. Xiong Chimo performed the most powerful move in the 9-turn hegemony sword. 10,000 swords unite. Seeing this menacing move, Su Wani did not dare to be careless. At this moment, she used all her magic power to stab an astonishing sword. This sword is also one of the 9 killing moves of Shenlong sword technique. This was also taught to her by her ancestors. It was not recorded in the Shenlong sword technique taught to her by her master. This move is called Shocking Dragon Kill. The divine dragon roared out, holding a bloody sword in its mouth. The long sword was blood red, exuding a strong murderous aura, and the smell of blood suddenly spread throughout the void. Roar! The roar of the dragon resounded throughout the world. The divine dragon roared, and the bloody sword in its mouth pierced Xiong Chimo's golden light. What kind of swordsmanship is this? So strong! Seeing this, Elder Luo of the Qitian Sword Sect stood up suddenly, his eyes widening. This move is really too powerful. It was rare in his life. Xiong Yinghao also stood up nervously, trembling all over. He didn't know if his son could take this sword. Boom! The blood-colored sword in Shenlong's mouth collided with the indestructible sword light, making an earth-shattering sound. The void shatters and everything is destroyed. A huge explosion resounded throughout Silver Moon City, and cracks appeared in the surrounding arena at this moment. Countless spectators ran away in fear. Ho ho ho! The divine dragon looked up to the sky and roared. The dragon's body swayed and suddenly pounced on Xiong Chimo, who had frightened eyes. The blood sword and the golden light have disappeared, and the phantom of Shenlong fell on Xiong Chimo, and an unimaginable huge force immediately knocked Xiong Chimo away. He was in midair, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. A figure quickly flew into the air and caught Xiong Chimo firmly. Then, Xiong Yinghao quickly stuffed a healing pill into his mouth. He looked at the beautiful girl on the ring with an angry face, but he dared not speak in anger. Su Wani used that amazing killing move to defeat his son. Now she has become the favorite in Elder Luo of the Qitian Sword Sect. In the future in Qitian Sword Sect is limitless. It is estimated that he will be upgraded from inner disciple to Tianjiao disciple soon. At that time, his son Xiong Chimo might have to beg her, Su Wani, to protect him. Xiong Yinghao fell down, unable to vent his sorrow and anger, so he could only keep a straight face and remain silent. The pale Xiong Chimo gradually improved after taking the elixir. although the divine dragon phantom hit him, it was at the end of its attack and only caused some minor injuries to him. After all, the most powerful blow of Shenlong Phantom was within the light of the bloody sword in the dragon's mouth. Su Wani exhaled and put the 7-star Longyuan sword back into its scabbard. There is no doubt that she became the final winner of this Sanyuan martial arts competition. The Tianyuan position belongs to her. She didn't use this move very well, and it was still far from what her ancestors wanted. She now relies solely on the 7-star Longyuan sword to be able to perform this move. If it were replaced with an ordinary sword, she wouldn't be able to use this earth-shattering killing move. In a black carriage. Yi Yun smiled softly. Su Wani finally made a breakthrough, but she didn't use this move to startle the dragon very well. To kill the dragon, at least 9 divine dragons must appear at the same time and spit out 9 bloody sword lights, which is considered interesting. Su Wani now is comparable to the shadow of a divine dragon. There is still a long way to go to meet Yi Yun's requirements. But Yi Yun is not in a hurry for these 3 disciples who have both good character and moral character. Even if his talent is inferior, he still has a way to solve it. After all the sword techniques of Shenlong Sect come from the concentration of blood in the body. As time goes by, as the concentration of ancestral dragon essence and blood in the bodies of these 3 little guys increases, the power of the Shenlong sword technique will naturally become stronger and stronger, until one day transform into the body of a real divine dragon, hold a divine sword in your mouth, and be able to strike a blow that will destroy the world. Su Wani wins. The referee outside the ring was stunned for a long time before finally announcing the final outcome of the game. The crowd around raised their hands and cheered loudly, especially those who had always been optimistic about Su Wani. The dark horse even slapped her hands red. Su Wani stood on the ring calmly. He was not overjoyed with the final victory. Elder Luo of the Qitian sword sect suddenly stood up and asked with a smile, "Su Wani, are you willing to join our Qitian sword sect?" That when Elder Luo said these words, all the monks around him showed envy, jealousy and hatred. There were 3 major forces in the Kamikaze dynasty. They are Qitian sword sect, Shenlong Sect, and Demon Control Sect. These 3 major forces all belong to large sections. Such large sects, including those in the Divine Bridge realm, are like crucian carps crossing the river, and there are even supreme powerhouses in the Nirvana realm sitting in their place. They are so powerful that it is unimaginable. I am a disciple of the Shenlong Sect and I don't want to join any sect. Su Wani lowered her head and said calmly. There was an uproar all around. No one expected that this extremely beautiful girl would reject the invitation from Elder Luo of the Qitian sword sect. Chapter 58, Angry from Shame, Bloody Encounter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What kind of sect is this Shenlong Sect? I've never heard of it. I guess it's a small, unknown sect, right? This girl is too stubborn. The Qitian sword sect is one of the 3 major forces of our Kamikaze dynasty, and there are strong men from the Nirvana realm. If she joins the Qitian sword sect, she will be blessed with great luck, and she will become a successful person from now on. This girl is so ignorant. She gave up a great opportunity like this. I really feel sorry for her. All of a sudden, everyone was talking about it, and all kinds of complicated emotions arose in their hearts. Is this little girl stupid? Xiong'inghao stared at Su Wani with wide eyes and an expression of disbelief. Su Wani's performance today was extremely impressive, and she had caught the attention of Elder Luo early on. If she joins the Qitian sword sect, she will definitely have a place as a talented disciple. Why didn't you take such a big opportunity? Listening to the discussions around him, Elder Luo of the Qitian sword sect looked gloomy and glared at Su Wani with murderous intent in his eyes, as if he wanted to eat Su Wani. He also didn't expect that this girl would reject his invitation so readily. She was so arrogant and audacious. His Qitian sword sect ran rampant throughout the Kamikaze dynasty. Wherever he went, who dared to say no? Elder Luo suppressed the anger in his heart and asked coldly, "Su Wani, why don't you want to join our Qitian sword sect?" Su Wani raised her head, her face was calm, and she faced the angry Elder Luo without any fear, and said calmly, "The Shenlong sect is very good, and I have never thought about changing the sect." Okay. 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 Elder Luo said hello 3 times in a row. His face was livid. He was so angry at Su Wani. what a rotten fool. What are the benefits of guarding a small third-rate sect? Su Wani, Elder Luo frowned and asked coldly, then why did you join the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association? Isn't it to join a more powerful sect? Su Wani ignored Elder Luo, looked around, and said calmly, now that I have obtained the Tianyuan quota, should I be rewarded? There was silence. No one expected that Su Wani would want to ask for the reward from the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association after rejecting Elder Luo's kindness. At this time, shouldn't she leave Silver Moon City quickly? After all, offending a Xinqiao realm elder from the Qitian sword sect was no joke. Seeing that Su Wani was so ignorant, Elder Luo was so angry that he was shaking all over. If he hadn't maintained his noble status, his cultivation level would have been too high. He had already slapped Su Wani to death. Xiongninghao saw the clues. He knew it was time for him to clean up the situation. After walking out of the viewing booth, he looked down and said coldly, Su Wani, you don't know what is right and provoked the Qitian sword sect. Do you still want a reward? It's really ridiculous. Someone, take Su Wani down immediately and put her in jail to serve. Xiongningshao's words immediately frightened all the spectators around him. No one expected that the city lord of Silver Moon City would suddenly show off his thunderbolt methods to deal with a monk who had just obtained the Tianyuan quota, but when everyone thought about it, they felt relieved. Even the lord of Silver Moon City cannot afford to offend Elder Luo of Qitian sword sect. The little Su Wani has no virtue and ability. What qualifications does she have to dare to offend Elder Luo? In the Kamikaze dynasty, the Qitian sword sect could destroy any sect with just one thought. The people watching around looked horrified and stepped back one after another. At this time, a dozen figures rushed over quickly and landed on the ring. These monks drew their swords and slowly surrounded them. Su Wani, if you don't want to die, quickly put down the weapon in your hand. A middle-aged monk shouted coldly. Su Wani looked at these monks and her pupils shrank slightly. There are 12 monks in total, all are Yuan High Realm. The lowest cultivation level is the 3rd level of Yuan High Realm, and the highest cultivation level has reached the 6th level of Yuan High Realm. Although surrounded by powerful enemies, Su Wani still did not panic. Is this the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association? It's so disappointing. And Xiongninghao, you, the Lord of Silver Moon City, are so shameless, it's really chilling. Su Wani raised her little face, looked coldly at Xiongninghao in the distance, and made a mocking sound. Presumptuous. Xiongninghao was so angry that his whole body trembled. Take it. He waved his hand and gave the order to attack. The 12 monks swung their swords in unison and charged toward Su Wani. When Elder Luo saw this, his old face that was flushed with anger gradually faded away. Xiongninghao did a pretty good job. If this Su Wani cannot be recruited by Qitian sword sect, then she might as well kill her directly, to avoid the danger of raising tigers. Seeing the shameless face of Elder Luo of Qitian sword sect, and the shameless behavior of Xiongninghao, the Lord of Silver Moon City, the big black cat squatting on Su Wani's shoulder suddenly became angry. Okay, you little bastards are so evil, Uncle Cat is going to eat you all. The big black cat was furious and was about to jump off Su Wani's shoulder, regain its true form, and start killing. Suddenly, Yi Yun's voice came to his ears. Don't worry yet, I'll leave that wolf cub to you to deal with later. Hearing the master's voice, the big black cat suddenly shivered. What do you mean, sir? Could it be referring to the strange aura it felt before? The big black cat calmed down and looked up suddenly, only to see that the moon in the sky seemed to be redder than before. It seems to understand. Who is the wolf cub that the master is talking about? Wow! The big black cat was extremely excited at this moment. The master actually gave it such an important task. This shows that the master has begun to trust it. If it really does nothing to do every day lying on the carriage, the big black cat really felt a little guilty, fearing that one day he would be ruthlessly abandoned by his master. The big black cat squatted happily on Su Wani's shoulder, waiting for the wolf cub that was about to appear in the arena. Su Wani was already fighting with the 12 Yuan High Realm monks. The opponent's attacks were extremely intensive, and streaks of sword light came like raindrops. Su Wani was powerless and relied on the 9 transformations of the divine dragon to quickly dodge. She used every opportunity to avoid the opponent's attacks while constantly counterattacking. Great! Su Wani once again felt the tremendous pressure from the battle, and she couldn't help but feel secretly happy. She once had a private chat with Luo Li. She knew that Luo Li and Lord Grim encountered several waves of powerful enemies in succession when they fought against the blood-clothed sect. In that battle, the two people improved to two small realms in succession, and the battle situation in front of us is very similar to the blood-clothed sect back then. She now understands her ancestors' intention. It seems that everything is under the strategizing arrangement of the ancestors. This little girl's body skills are really good, why not send a few more monks up there? Elder Luo turned his head and glanced at Xiong and said calmly. Xiong nodded quickly and immediately waved his hand, and 4 or 5 more high-level monks from Yuanhai realm joined the battle. At this time, Elder Luo suddenly looked at the full moon in the night sky with a feeling. His eyelids narrowed slightly, and he was confused. It's strange, why is the moon a little red tonight? The young author is asking for recommendations and praise online. Thank you, brothers. Chapter 59. The blood moon is in the sky, and there are strange phenomena in the sky and the earth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Witness the reddish full moon. Elder Luo touched his chin and pondered. After all, he came from a powerful sect like Qitian Sword Sect and had a profound background. He also knew a lot about the history of the Kamikaze dynasty. For Silver Moon City, Elder Luo also happened to know about it. Thousands of years ago, this was the royal city of the Silver Moon Wolf clan. However, the Silver Moon Wolf clan failed in the war with humans, and Silver Moon City became a human city. It's been tens of thousands of years, there shouldn't be any remnants of the Silver Moon Wolf clan, right? Elder Luo secretly guessed. According to historical records at that time, the Silver Moon Wolf clan had been exterminated. In the past 10,000 years, there has not been a werewolf from the Silver Moon Wolf clan. Elder Luo looked up again and looked at the red moon in the night sky. He remembered that the Silver Moon Wolf clan seemed to have an extremely ancient and mysterious sacrificial ritual. During this ceremony, the moon turns blood red. Now the moon in the night is only slightly red, and it is still far away from that blood red color. Elder Luo shook his head and smiled bitterly. He felt that his worries just now were a little too much. Xiong frowned slightly and stared at the battle in the ring. At this moment, a total of 17 Yuan High Realm Masters joined the battle, attacking Su Wani crazily. Originally, he wanted to capture Su Wani and put her in prison, where she would be subjected to various tortures to let Elder Luo relieve her anger, but later I discovered that Su Wani was really powerful, so he took action to kill. You must not keep this girl. Kill her as soon as possible to avoid future troubles. Therefore, as soon as the second wave of high-level Yuan High Realm monks joined the battle group, everyone began to kill them. Su Wani is in danger one after another. Seeing that defeat has been decided, Elder Luo, who had been observing this fierce battle, exhaled slightly and felt relieved. No matter how good Su Wani's physical strength is, she has gone through several battles after all. Now there are 17 more Yuan High Realm Masters fiercely attacking her, and she definitely won't be able to hold on for much longer. Humph, this stupid guy, let her disappear from this world forever. Elder Luo thought to himself. In the tidal sword light, Su Wani pursed her lips tightly, and her forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat, withstood the terrifying attacks from 17 Yuan High Realm Masters. At this moment, one can imagine the pressure she felt. Now Su Wani can feel the strong pressure that junior brother and junior sister feel when facing dozens of people. Almost every moment is a passing moment between life and death. If she wasn't careful, she would be hit by dozens of sword lights. As for the dozen or so Yuan High Realm monks on the other side, almost all of their moves were killing moves, rushing towards her vital points. Su Wani concentrated all her energy. At this moment, Shenlong's 9 transformations technique was brought into full play. Dozens of phantoms of divine dragons were flying above the arena, making it difficult to tell the real ones from the fake ones. Even though the sword energy destroyed half of the divine dragon phantoms, dozens of other divine dragon phantoms immediately appeared, ever-changing, elusive. When Yi Yun saw this scene in the carriage, a faint smile appeared on his calm face, with the corners of his mouth raised. In terms of the 9 transformations of the divine dragon, Su Wani, the senior sister, it is indeed stronger than Luo Li and Lord Grim. After all, we are in the territory of the Kamikaze dynasty at this moment. And the Yuan High Realm monks here are much stronger than the Yuan High Realm monks from the Guyu dynasty. Therefore, the pressure faced will be stronger. Only by persisting for a while longer could Su Wani achieve a breakthrough. Yi Yun looked at the sky and found that the full moon was getting more and more ruddy. He looked at the underground of Silver Moon City again. It was found that the underground formation was almost ready and had started to operate. Yi Yun raised his eyebrows, raised his hand, and tapped it gently with his index finger. Miraculous changes suddenly occurred in the entire space above and below Silver Moon City. Deep underground, the Silver Moon Wolf Clan's running formation was forcibly suppressed by Yi Yun, and the speed of the formation slowed down unconsciously. It can be said, whether it's the Sanyuan Martial Arts Association on the ground or the plans of the Silver Moon Wolf Clan underground, everything is under Yi Yun's control. When Su Wani breaks through, it was the time when the blood moon was in the sky and the Howling Sky Silver Wolf was resurrected. As for this Howling Sky Silver Wolf, Yi Yun had already arranged for it to be given to the big black cat for training. Time passed very slowly with Yi Yun, but it passed very quickly with Su Wani. She was highly concentrated and was dealing with all kinds of sword-light attacks every minute. A slight mistake will result in blood splattering in 5 steps. Xiao Ninghao clasped his hands behind his back and looked in the direction of the ring with an extremely serious expression. If he hadn't maintained his identity, he would have really wanted to rush forward and join the battle. There were so many masters of the Yuan Sea realm, but after a long attack, they still hadn't taken down a single monk on the 2nd level of the Yuan Sea realm. A bunch of trash. Xiao Ninghao stamped his feet in anger. This Su Wani, I think I can't hold on any longer. Elder Luo said calmly, squinting his eyes slightly, with a cold light coming from the slits in his eyes. It took another half a cup of tea. Xiao Ninghao and Elder Luo looked at each other, their expressions extremely ugly. The two of them always thought that Su Wani would be unable to support her at the next moment, but they never expected that she would always escape again and again at extremely dangerous moments. This shocked the two of them. How could this Su Wani be so resilient? Elder Luo has never seen such a tenacious monk in his life. Little did he know that Su Wani had followed her master on the run since she was a child, and had experienced countless life and death tests. She, her master, her junior brothers and sisters were able to escape time and time again, all relying on the sect's Shenlong 9 transformations. The tiger falls in Pingyang and is bullied by the dog. Today's Shenlong Sect is unknown and rarely heard of. In the past 10,000 years, it has no sense of existence on the Cangnan continent. 90,000 years ago, if any monks saw the 9 transformations of the divine dragon, they would subconsciously retreat 3,000 miles away. Who has the courage to challenge the disciples of the eternal level sect? In the blink of an eye, a stick of incense passed. Boom. The invisible shackles inside Su Wani's body were finally broken. Her body shook slightly, and the magic power in her body suddenly surged like the Yangtze River, flowing into all the meridians. This moment, Su Wani's mana and combat power soared again. She broke through again. That the people watching around couldn't help but look shocked. The evergreen butterfly in the crowd also stared with big eyes, unable to believe what he was seeing. This Sister Su is simply a supreme evildoer. To know, she had just broken through during the competition with Xiong Chumo. Less than an hour before and after, breakthrough twice in a row. It really shocked the hearts of countless people. Why did she break through again? Elder Luo stood up suddenly, clenched his fists, and the veins in his neck popped out. Go. Elder Luo looked at Xiao Ninghao with a gloomy face. Yes. The shocked Xiao Ninghao stood up immediately after hearing Elder Luo's order. Suddenly, Xiao Ninghao heard someone shouting in surprise from around him. Look, why is the moon turning red? Countless people subconsciously raised their heads and looked towards the night sky. At this moment, a sudden change occurred in the sky, and the originally golden full moon turned into blood. The blood moon is in the sky. The faint blood moon hung strangely in the sky. The falling blood dyed Silver Moon City blood red. Chapter 60. The Silver Moon Wolf Clan is born, and the melee begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sudden appearance of heaven and earth phenomena in the sky of Silver Moon City shocked everyone. This is. Elder Luo looked at the blood moon, and his mind suddenly became serious. Are all the ancient legends true? On a night when the blood moon is in the sky, the patron saint of the Silver Moon Wolf Clan will come to the world again. The Silver Moon Wolf tribe that once lived in this land had the blood of Silver Wolf and were half human and half wolf. Tracing back to their origins, their ancestors were the Howling Sky Silver Wolf. Howling Sky Silver Wolf is also one of the legendary ancient beasts in Sangnan continent. A few seconds passed. In the battle 10,000 years ago, the Howling Sky Silver Wolf was killed by the mighty powers of the human race and could not be resurrected. Furthermore, for more than 9,000 years, there has never been a silver moon wolf here. Pass. Elder Luo shook his head and whispered to himself, forcibly dispelling the trace of panic in his heart, and now Xiongninghao, seeing this terrifying celestial phenomenon, I felt a little scared. City Lord Xiong, what are you still hesitating about? Suddenly, Elder Luo's voice rang in his ears. Elder Luo, please don't worry, Su Wani will definitely die today. Xiongninghao eliminated distracting thoughts, took a deep breath, suddenly stepped out of the viewing booth, crossed the void, and landed on the ring. At this moment, Su Wani is no longer so embarrassed after breaking through to the third level of Yuan High Realm. The big black cat on her shoulder stared at Xiongninghao and was about to take action. Suddenly, a familiar voice came to his ears, again and again. That was the big black cat's uncle, the sound of horse hooves hitting the ground. Such a gentle sound. Xiongninghao was in mid-air, with a huge roar echoing in his mind. He suddenly fell into coma as if struck by lightning, and fell from the air to the ground with a snap. Fortunately, he was a strong man in the God-shaping realm and had a strong physical body, so he didn't get a bloody head from the fall. Haha, the big black cat smiled proudly in his heart. Uncle Ma took action, a gentle tap of the hoof. The strong man who shaped the mirror fell into a coma. I have to say, Uncle Ma is really awesome at this. The big black cat admires it in his heart, but if it were him, he wouldn't be able to do this. What it likes to do most is to pounce on Xiongninghao, pin it under its paws like a mouse, and then swallow him with one mouthful. City Lord. Several monks from around rushed over and held Xiongninghao in their arms. At this moment, Xiongninghao had 2 strands of blood flowing out of his nose, his eyes were closed tightly, and he was unconscious. Seeing this scene, Elder Luo took a breath of air. At this moment, Silver Moon City was shrouded in blood red, and there was a gloomy feeling like hell. Thinking of the legend of the Silver Moon Wolf clan again, Elder Luo felt inexplicably frightened and suddenly trembled. Ouch! On the street in the distance, a pedestrian suddenly raised his head and let out a wolf howl. The sound was like a fire being thrown into fuel, and it immediately caused changes in the entire Silver Moon City. Almost all ordinary people, as well as monks with low cultivation levels, at this moment, all raised their heads and screamed at the faint blood moon in the sky. The entire Silver Moon City has a population of tens of millions. There are no exceptions to this moment. Everyone looked up to the sky and let out a wolf howl, which made people feel extremely eerie. The howls of wolves came and went, shaking the entire Silver Moon City. The ground of Silver Moon City also roared at this moment, as if there was some ferocious beast hidden underneath. What happened underground? The heads of the various sects in the sect master's palace, as well as the clan leaders of the major forces, saw such shocking changes taking place in Silver Moon City, and their expressions changed drastically. They felt that there seemed to be an uncontrollable anxiety in their bodies. Ouch! Finally, there was a clan leader who was at the first level of Yuan High Realm. His eyes were bulging and his skin was red. He looked up to the sky and let out a wolf howl. Then more and more monks, unable to suppress the restlessness in their hearts, looked up to the sky and roared angrily. In Silver Moon City, after many ordinary people howled like wolves, their skins cracked and blood flowed out. After the blood flowed to the ground, it was absorbed by a strange force. It's not a good place to stay for a long time. Feeling the increasingly terrifying aura, Elder Luo's expression changed drastically, and he moved to prepare to leave. Boom! In the square ahead, a huge crack in the ground suddenly opened, and hundreds of extremely powerful figures rushed out. These figures are tall, about 3 meters tall, and each one is covered with silver wolf fur. They have human bodies, but have wolf heads, and each holds a big stick with wolf fangs. They flew over the city lord's mansion. This is the remnant of the Silver Moon Wolf clan. Seeing this, Elder Luo of Qitian Sword Sect finally understood what was going on. The remnants of the wolf clan that have never appeared in tens of thousands of years are actually hiding underground in Silver Moon City. Tonight, they actually launched a massive sacrifice. After tonight, all humans in Silver Moon City will die. the legendary beast of the Silver Moon Wolf clan, the Howling Sky Silver Wolf, will also come to the world again. Elder Luo's face was pale at this time, and his heart was extremely cold. He must rush back to Qitian's sword master as soon as possible and report this matter to the sect leader. Whoosh! His body turned into a ray of light and flew away. A silver ball of light suddenly hit it like a meteor. The two fought in the air. Elder Luo let out a muffled groan and fell down again. The person who stopped him was a strong middle-aged werewolf. He was holding a gleaming silver fang stick, looked at Elder Luo, and sneered. 10,000 years ago, the Qitian sword sect was also the culprit in the siege of Silver Moon City. How could I let you escape? Elder Luo pointed the tip of his sword at the werewolf and cursed. Remnants of the Silver Moon Wolf clan, I never imagined that you have been huddled in the ground for nearly 10,000 years. Yes, 99% of our people were killed by you humans. Fortunately, we have an underground castle under Silver Moon City, where we were able to survive. After nearly 10,000 years of recuperation, we have regained some of our strength. Today, our ancestor god Xiao Tian Yin Lang will come to the world. From then on, the Kamikaze dynasty will be ruled by our Silver Moon Wolf clan. As he spoke, he burst into laughter, looking extremely crazy. Elder Luo was furious, flew into the air, and struck at him with his sword. The two powerful men of the Divine Bridge realm suddenly fought against each other. The other strong men of the Silver Moon Wolf clan were now fighting with the sect masters and clan leaders who had not been poisoned. All of a sudden, the entire city lord's palace was in chaos. On the arena, those Yuan High Realm monks who had been besieging Su Wani secretly complained in their hearts. There was also an uncontrollable restlessness in their hearts, when they saw some monks around them howling like wolves, with their bodies split open and bleeding out. They knew that they must have been poisoned by a special kind of poison. These monks have to suppress this strange poison in their bodies while also fighting Su Wani, which can be said to be extremely hard. Su Wani seized the opportunity and killed several low-level Yuan High Realm monks with a few sword strikes. Su Wani became more courageous as she fought. She was not affected by the visions of heaven and earth. In the black carriage, Yi Yun's face was calm and unfazed. He suddenly raised his head with something in mind. The blood of tens of millions of people in Silver Moon City flowed into the underground, and then passed through the underground formation to refine the blood. All the blood energy is now concentrated on that blood moon. Within the blood moon, a ferocious silver wolf was looming.